Hi, Cynthia. Such a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Welcome to Soul Spice Living. And thank you for these beautiful white roses.
Absolutely my pleasure. When I saw those today, I just thought Lavanya is a pure divine white rose to me. And thank you for this honor to be here. I feel really, really honored to have you invite me to this conversation.
Yeah.
Something I'm very passionate about.
Well, I've always adored you, looked up to you, and coached by you. And I've gained so many valuable life lessons. And I want so many more people to hear your wisdom and your pure soul and your intent and the way you show up. So I'm so excited for our conversation ahead.
Thank you. Me too.
Yes. Let's get started.
Okay. I have a question. So as a soulpreneur, what I'm just curious about is, did that come to you with just one day? You're like, soulpreneurship, or is this something that you've kind of heard about before, or did you coin the word? I mean, I feel like I've maybe heard it, but I just thought it would be a great inquiry.
I've always loved the word soul. Like soul is something that I've used for years now, and soulful living and soul-centered entrepreneurship. These are all things that I've always practiced or lived by or embodied. However, the word soulpreneur I came upon that word about 6 months ago, but it took me some time to actually embody it as well as adopt it as kind of a key word for my podcast as well as everything I do. Because my initial hesitation in using the word soulpreneur was that it would be confused with solopreneur, which is single person entrepreneur. However, as I leaned more into it, it just became natural and it fits. And entrepreneurship is not that much different from life itself, where you're required to be creative, to innovate, to problem solve, to make decisions. We do that in life already. And so for me, entrepreneurship is an extension of our life. And a soulpreneur not necessarily is not confined to just entrepreneurs. It's for all of us. It's for all of us women, whether we're making an important decision in life, whether we are pitching an idea to our workplace, whether we're starting a new job. It requires a certain grit, determination, perseverance, which I think we're all entrepreneurs in one way. And that is the way I think of leadership too. We're all leaders of our life. And so because I love entrepreneurship so much and because I am a soulful person, I'm like, let's combine those two and just speak to women who it resonates with.
I love that. Knowing about your Soul Spice business for a long time, since I've known you, I just loved your pivot to SOUL with Soulpreneur because I know that you have been all about soul and soulful living, as I feel I have too. And so when I look at the distinction, if there were to be one shared, for me, I feel soulpreneur is one who's really going after their passion, their life purpose in a way that is uplifting humanity, that is really making a difference in the world, and from a heart-centered place.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was kind of thinking today, like, who do I know that I would just say are entrepreneurs or soulpreneurs? Yeah. And did you say there's not a big difference, but I do see the soulpreneur being the one who is really leading their life from their heart, from their passion, from their life purpose that is uplifting humanity in some way.
That is amazing. That is truly the essence of a soulpreneur. Yeah. But I started from the base level, and then you graduate to where you find your business, and then you find your purpose, and you serve people through that entrepreneurial venture, which is perfectly, as I think in life, our passions evolve, our purpose evolves, and so does soulpreneurship as well. So depending on which phase we are in of our lives, I think I want soulpreneurship to resonate with women, and knowing that, it just doesn't end. I think we're always evolving, and so as being a soulpreneur, I love this conversation. Absolutely. It is a new term, and so I hope people love it as much as we do. But absolutely, I wanted to I'm so excited to get some time with you today. But tell us a little bit about your childhood, Cynthia. Where were you born?
Fascinating.
Yes.
I don't know how fascinating it will be to you all, but I was born in a very small town in Idaho, Burley, Idaho. youngest of 5. I was number 5 daughter. My father, after daughter 2, really wanted boy. 3 came, 4 came, and it was, I'm done. I don't want any more children because for sure it will probably be another girl. The reason I tell this is because I just feel there was some level when I came that even prior to in conception, there was probably a disharmony amongst my parents because there was not a lot of happiness on his part that this was happening. And I think I felt on some level when I arrived, I needed to be really the peacemaker. I needed to be like everything that would help solve the problems or take care of the issues or just be the best I could so he'd be kind of happy that I came. And it ended up that, of course, over our journey together. And his generation, it was not an easy situation to really learn how to communicate. He didn't really express himself in that way, but we certainly got to that place. And so I share that because I feel, Lavanya, I came in with this level of, I just want to be loved. I just want to be accepted. And the first 20 years of my life, I did whatever I could do to be that, to the point that I didn't really use my voice. I didn't really have assertiveness. I didn't really speak my truth about what I believed in life or what I wanted in life because I was afraid if I did, people wouldn't accept me or like me, and then where would I be? So I feel my journey of really strengthening my inner confidence and finding my purpose began with that experience of really knowing that I wanted to get to the heart of who I was. And that, that took some time, and that took me leaving home and starting to get in relationships that weren't honoring of who I was, that were disloyal. I would start feeling like I was kind of just getting run over all the time by women and men, until I finally learned to really speak up and speak my truth and strengthen that quality of assertiveness and confidence. So I'm very passionate in my business to support women, particularly in gaining their confidence, in learning how to speak their truth, in being clear boundary setters, and having the assertiveness to say what feels right to them. Because I do get a lot of women in my practice that are either in unhappy relationships, they're looking at divorce, or they're considering that, or they've been in and out of lots of relationships, and they've really let other people, men and women, really shut them down. And so there's a betrayal that they've kind of given. They've let go of their power, and they've let someone else take that away. So I'm very passionate about supporting women, particularly, and men, in gaining that confidence and strengthening that. And those are the confidence, the courage, the assertiveness. All of those are beautiful qualities of the heart. They're virtues that we all have the capacity to strengthen in our lifetime. We're given the capacity for those in potential, but unless we really get present to what that looks like and the action steps that we need to take to demonstrate that and cultivate those, they kind of lie dormant.
Yeah.
So I love helping my clients understand that, you have a value system over here. It might be, I really value authentic relationships. And yet if you're a person over here who isn't being authentic and isn't having the capacity to be confident and courageous and be truthful, you're speaking out of one side of your mouth with your value, what you say is meaningful. You're taking action over here that's very far away from that, and there's more suffering. So it's so important for us to make sure that we are aligning our virtues, kind of like the building blocks of our life, in action that align closer with our values, and then there's less suffering.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So beautifully stated. And thank you for that candid, honest account of your childhood and growing up, because clearly you've turned your pain into your power. And I think in what we think of as struggles or our weaknesses are really our superpowers if we can lean into them and see how we can leverage the pain, because pain is an emotion, and emotion can be used for great things or destructive things. And so through that pain, through that seeking, I think you found your purpose, and you are so beautifully sharing it with the world. And also, thank you so much for laying out the steps of how one gets from being stuck to getting clarity and finding their purpose. Is because most women, we know what we need to do to get there. And we get stuck in the how. I think it's important to know why we want to do what we want to do. That is purpose part of it. But also the how takes a lot of self-awareness and someone to trust in you, someone to hold your hand, someone to hold you accountable, someone to love you, respect you. And the best person to do that really is yourself. But until you can gain the confidence to do that for yourself, I really think a coach or a mentor is really essential for us to take those baby steps towards the future self.
Absolutely. You know, I think coach is starting to have a different tone, and people have a different perspective of it out there now. There's a lot of life coaches now. Yeah. And, you know, everyone has a specific, perhaps, area that they focus on, you know, whether it's nutritional or business or financial or, and I've always just loved that the coaching perspective and the body of work that I bring has to do with really relationships, because we're in relationship with everything. So I don't mean just relationships like your partner or your friends or your parents or your siblings, but we're in relationship to our money. We're in relationship to our career. We're in relationship to our body. I just feel like this heart-centered approach to creating a life that is harmonious and peaceful and grounded and authentic and transparent has us deepen our relationship to every facet of our lives.
Absolutely.
And is that a lifelong journey? Absolutely. And to do that or try to do that without anyone kind of being a sounding board or giving you the guidance or the tools or even just a possible map for them to get clear about where they want to head in their life with certain things. I think it's extremely beneficial.
Yeah, 100%. And you did mention that there are a lot of life coaches out there, and that is true. I think 99.9% of them are we all have the same goal of helping other people through our own life experience and to share the wisdom that we've gained over years, right? In different areas, and whichever area I think we specialize in. But how does one choose who the right coach is?
What a great question. Well, one of the things I love to offer is what I call a discovery Zoom session. It's about a 45-minute session. And prior to them scheduling that, I send them some pre-session questions so that I can have a little bit more clarity as to what they're specifically looking for in a life coach. As we kind of go back and forth with the questionnaire and the answers, and then we schedule a Zoom, they get pretty clear if they have an opportunity to sit with me, whether I am their person. So with anything, Lavanya, I think I even remember maybe sharing this with you with regards to a yoga teacher training. People will say, there's so many. How do I choose? And I just feel you go around to whomever and you sit down and you ask the questions and you sit with them and see if you can feel a harmony and energetic alignment with that person, as well as hear what their specific skill set is and their specific focus. I very often will, people will they'll think it's different than it is. Like they hear relationships or they'll hear self-care, that kind of thing. But after we have an opportunity to sit down and they kind of see the whole picture of the heart model that we wrote about in the book and the ability to start to really deepen their relationship to any area of their life becomes kind of a new intriguing thought.
Yeah.
I had a client several years ago who there's the main areas: relationships, family, relationships meaning like partnership, intimate, family, career, your body, your health, and financial. And there was this client who came to me and she said, well, when we get to the relationship quadrant, I'm looking at my 5th divorce. So are you telling me that, I need to start trusting men? Or anyway, she was kind of struggling with even looking at that area of her life. And when we got there and she was able to have the trust in me to really share her story, clearing back from her father, it was phenomenal what she let go of and what she released. And I, recently ran into her maybe 2 years ago, and she left that 5th marriage and has never looked back and has just become such a strong, confident, single adult woman living her life of travel. And so I think it's, people sometimes think they don't want to look at the thing. And then when we get the opportunity to be in a space where you feel safe and heard, there's a lot that can transform.
A lot. Because so much of our present life, I think 99.9% of our present is based on our childhood and upbringing and conditioning and trauma and all the patterns. And so if we can recognize there is a misalignment in our present and able to look at our childhood trauma and conditioning, not to delve there, but just to acknowledge it and to know that, really name it, the fears that we have, and to even speak it or write it. And then know that I think at any given point in time, we have the capacity to rewire our brains through neuroplasticity and then just create a future that aligns with our values, and then to really, acknowledge our values, our strengths and our virtues, and see where the areas of improvement are, and create a roadmap for our life and our business. And it's a fun journey, and I love it. But there are some areas that are more difficult than the others. But once you get the formula to unlock the potential in one area, I think we can apply it to all else. And because I think truly it is like a video game, this life journey for me. You unlock different levels as you go.
I love that, Lavanya. I've never really done very many video games, but I hear this from my grandson all the time. Mimi, I just unlocked this.
Yes, yes.
So that's a great analogy.
Yeah, that's kind of like life. We take it too seriously, but I think as we have fun through the journey, and many women, when they do acknowledge and when they do get the help and when they do transform, sometimes they forget to have fun. They're again going back. We are hardwired. So it's very easy for us to slip back into the old habits as well. So I think just taking one day at a time and strengthening our minds and our heart set and our emotions, but just being prepared for whatever life is invaluable. I think we can only be prepared, but we can't predict the future or who's going to be upset or what's going to go down. So there's always someone or something who's going to make us upset, but how are we prepared to face that and to not lose our cool is kind of the goal of the game.
Absolutely. And I think that there's many different answers to that. Self-care practices, being able to be giving back to yourself enough, nourishing yourself enough mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, that when all of a sudden things completely turn upside down, you have the capacity to go in and choose how you're going to be with it, as opposed to just react and have it be this emotional storm that's around you, and trying to align with that same frequency and solve anything is never going to happen. Yeah. There's something I really love to share. Whenever we have something across from us that is really turbulent, disempowering, very negative, we can't go in at the same vibrational frequency to solve the problem. Yeah. But so many people are in that reactionary habit. And I think that has a lot to do with our screen addictions. It has to do with our fried nervous systems, how much we take on. So when things are happening around us that are very turbulent in this emotional storm, we just kind of, react, and we just go into the same level of vibrational frequency as the problem, and nothing's ever going to get solved. And that's practice. Detachment is letting go of the tendency to let somebody else's emotional storm suck you in, and then you react from there. But to be able to see that happening, even if it's walk into the bathroom for 3 minutes and do some breathing and say, how do I want to come back to this situation and be? What do I want to contribute? What do I want to bring to this situation that will actually elevate the situation?
Absolutely. That just changes the whole dynamic, and you're able to let go, forgive, and have a conversation instead of a meltdown, which is so empowering. I think many highly driven, successful women, because of today's life stressors and we're always running and always in lack of time. So we think that we have it figured out if we take care of our health or one area or the other. But I really want to reiterate that if you are compromising on any one area, it shows up in another area of your life. So, and from my own example, like I'm pretty good with eating and relationships and all different areas and kind of grounding and centering and responding, not reacting and all of that. But I was compromising on my sleep quite a bit. Because I just a productive high achiever. So I use night times to get things done. And I was getting like 5, maybe 6 hours of sleep. And I'm thinking that I have everything else, but no, it catches up. And it's showed in my health, being in my 40s. And it's only going to get worse. So I recognize that. And I think it's so important for us to honor every area of our being and to have alignment of the body, mind, and soul. And I just wanted to kind of confess and put it out there as share my experience.
Guess what, sister? I can relate to that one.
Yes.
And it does continue to catch up. And my experience is the older I've gotten, it does not work anymore. Like I had a mother who I never saw her go to bed. Never. She was always up, always up, always up. Yeah. Even when she was in the facility and it was 2 years from before she left this world, she would call me late at night. So I had that modeled. I'm not blaming her, but I'm also a very productive person. And I think, when everyone's in bed, I can get so much done. But it has become a new self-care boundary for me that I feel completely different. So I do share that with you. And I think it does catch up. Yes. For sure.
Thank you for sharing that. I do remember you having similar struggle and you had some boundaries around it. I'm glad it's working and I'm trying as well. So yes.
Self-discipline is an amazing virtue to have strong. And there's many areas where we can really have it very down the line. And for years, I would say, I am so disciplined about my food path or my exercise or my thought patterns. Sleep is another, was just the next one that I got to embrace and love free this habit and pattern that kind of had me believe that I can only be productive when everyone else is sleeping.
Yeah, it's a story we tell ourselves and that requires rewiring as well.
The virtue work that is now in my body of work was first introduced to me by the founders of an organization called the Virtues Project over 29, 30 years ago, because my husband and I went to a parenting conference in Sedona, Arizona, and we met Dan Popov and Linda Kathleen Popov at a workshop. And I remember walking into the conference room and seeing all over the walls these 9.5 by 11 words: love and forgiveness and trustworthiness and honor and humility and courage. And I was just like, where are we right now? And what are these words? These are not just words. So over the weekend, learning about the virtues conversation from these founders of the project, we became, both Steve and I, very passionate about this conversation. And we were so excited to return as new parents, older parents, to our first child, who was 2.5, first time we'd left her alone. with Steve's mother and felt like it was going to be kind of our new path of parenting. And we realized when we got home that it was actually even more about our journey as a couple too. But I became so passionate about it that shortly after that conference, I got a letter in the mail inviting people who had been exposed to it, if they felt called to become a facilitator, to come to a training. And it was just like, I remember the day I got that letter. It was like, no question. And so I've been an international facilitator for the project for over 30 years. Yes. And that conversation of the distinction between virtues and values, first of all, was like a new concept for me. Didn't really understand the distinction, and there is. Because it is kind of like some people, I think, are a little bit confused about really the distinction. But values are what is meaningful to us. And what you value is probably very different than your neighbor or even a cousin or a good friend. But the virtues are like universally valued and acknowledged through truly all faiths. They're written about in all the writings of the 8 top world religions and even the indigenous writings as the content of our character, who we are as human, spiritual beings, the qualities of the heart. And so the virtues are the building blocks of how we live our value system. So, for instance, my husband and I, a value to us as we were having our daughters was to have really open, authentic communication. And what is required regarding having that type of relationship with your children? Assertiveness, openness, trust, confidence, vulnerability. That isn't really a virtue, but so it's being able to take what we value. I mentioned this earlier. See that the virtues, the qualities of the heart, like our building blocks, the action steps, are having us live closer what our value system is.
Okay, lovely. Yes.
For the virtues. So the virtuesproject.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Still a very active business in the world, and they've, written several books and have beautiful virtue cards. I'm sure we probably pulled some of those cards when we had our sessions together. And so, when I see couples, this is always kind of mind-blowing for me. I know this is a different conversation than soulpreneur, but again, soulpreneur is just being a leader in your life, whether it's your business or your relationship, right? Or as a parent. Yes. So when I'll ask a couple, what are your values? It's like he may sit there. Marriage. Well, okay, but like what kind of a marriage? Like get more specific. And then I ask like Jack and Jill, what are your values? And it's amazing to me how few couples even talk about what their values are, nor are they even maybe on the same page. Well, that's probably why you're struggling right now. Yeah. You don't have the same values. Yeah. And then meanwhile, if you're over here taking action steps every day that aren't even aligning with what you say you value, again, more space, distance, more suffering. Yeah. So I think when we can get clear as a soulful person what our values are, and then we can look at the virtues that need to be strengthened to really live into that soulful purpose, that's very helpful.
It's beautiful. And that's how all entrepreneurs should operate as well, and from a value-based center. Yeah. Yes, I agree. And I love the heart model that you and Steve created and wrote a book on. And such a beautiful way to decode life and everyday circumstances. Could you elaborate a little bit on the heart model,
I would love to.
Yes.
Just brought a little copy because I think it's a beautiful book. So absolutely. The heart model is based on the acronym of the word heart. It stands for honor, embrace, acknowledge, respond, and trust. And what we felt very inspired by in coming up with this model is that each pillar, I call them, these letters, this acronym, each pillar has the capacity over time to transmute, which is change over time, like alchemy. You transmute raw minerals into precious gems over time.
Yeah.
So they have the capacity to transmute over time.
Yeah.
Negative, disempowering habits and patterns. I will even maybe go as far as, habituated sort of types of addictions. And each pillar of the heart model has the capacity over time to transmute those. Yeah. So I just feel it's brilliant. Yeah, it's simple.
It is, yes.
If you struggle with the addiction, and I'm not talking pornography or alcohol or drugs, I'm not talking social media or shopping or gambling. I'm talking judgment, criticism, gossip, fear, doubt, denial. Yeah. Like these are all habits and patterns that we have mastered over our lifetime, that we have let run our lives. And until we can be aware of that and then know that there is something else you can choose to strengthen, to transmute that, we just kind of let that wreak havoc in our lives, and we give it the power like a 3-trailer semi-truck going crazy down the freeway. Yeah.
That is amazing. And nobody ever looks at, the socially accepted addictions, but they're so destructive in our personality, in our reality, in our future. And so I think it's really brilliant and so easy to remember heart model. So honor transmutes
judgment, criticism, condemnation, and gossip. Now, there's many different ways you would use the word honor, right? Honor would be getting down on your knees and honoring someone that a beloved teacher. But to just be able to honor, meaning not judge your neighbor with their choices, their faith path, their socioeconomic condition, their sexual preferences, to just say, I can honor where you are, means we don't have to be adding this judgment and this criticism. You've got to admit, Lavanya, that this world is based on judgment, criticism, gossip. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And I feel social media has even amplified that more.
Comparison, criticism,
So it isn't necessarily saying that I can agree with that person's path. I'm not saying that. We all have our boundaries and our preferences and our values about what's important, where we draw the line. But what we don't need to do is go down that road of attack and judgment.
I agree.
And that really was a big conversation during COVID. I mean, I had clients coming in whose families were completely ostracizing them for their choice, no matter what their choice was. And just the bantering back and forth, it was just unbelievable to me.
And a lot of it comes from your external world is a reflection of your internal world. So I think if everybody just looked at their own selves and the reflection, self-reflection to honor, embrace, acknowledge, respond, and trust, I think that is such a brilliant model that has helped me and to live a more soulful life.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes. I wanted to ask you about your morning routine or your dinacharya, as we say in Ayurveda, or the Ritucharya, because you have a beautiful way of living and I've seen it myself. And so you embody those qualities so beautifully. For me, the yogi way of life, I call it, or Ayurveda's principles are very similar. So could you tell us what your morning routine looks like? Because I think it sets the tone for the day, and it's so important how we wake up and what we do. Kind of sets the tone in our life. So I would love to know your routine.
Beautiful. Thank you for asking. It can look different in terms of the order every morning, and it will contain something like this. So I would say the very first thing is when my feet hit the ground, I have 17 steps to my bathroom. And that's the first thing I do. And every step I say to myself, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, 17 times. Now, this is really for true.
Yeah.
And this started when I had the gift and honor, it was also difficult, to caregive for my mother-in-law when she was given 4 months to live with cancer. Very prideful woman. And never would she let people ever look at her feet. In fact, in her home, you absolutely wear shoes. She thought people's feet were dirtier than their shoes. So when she got to the point where she couldn't walk anymore, I asked her one night if I could massage her feet, and she let me. And then I started being able to, again, have the gift, although it was difficult, but I felt it was an honor to toilet her, get her from the bed to the bathroom. And I just remember one day thinking, after this experience of having someone else have to be in charge of something like going to the bathroom in the middle of the night or whatever, I will never not give thanks for my feet and the ability to be able to walk from my bed to the toilet and do my business by myself. So that, it's been one of my biggest first things in the morning. And then once I sit down, it's like I will just give thanks for whatever is there for me. Grateful that my grandson who stayed here last night is alive and well and happy, and whatever it is, that my husband is there. He's still with me, And then from there, I will usually walk outside. Doesn't matter what the temperature is, what the month is. And I will ground and I will earth and I will do a practice called Breath of Joy, which I'm sure you've probably done with me.
Yes.
And it's a movement of 3 movements with your arms and breathing. And I'll do usually 2 minutes of that. About a 5 or 6 minute movement practice that just kind of shakes up any sort of stagnation in the body and allows me to be grounding barefoot. By this point, it's been 20 years since we've lived in the home we're in. All the neighbors know that's just what I do. But in the beginning, it was like, what is here and what is she doing? If it's snow, I do snow. I can survive with bare feet in the snow for 3 minutes. And it just wakes me up and gets me connected. And then I will usually come in and I have an oil pulling practice where I scrape my tongue and I do my oil pulling. Might at that point do a meditation after that's done. Maybe some movement on my mat, some journaling about where I'm headed for the day, my affirmations for the day, my intentions for the day. So it could be 15 minutes or if I wake early enough, it might be 45 minutes to an hour. But it's a sadhana. It's a practice to give gratitude to the divine and really set my intention for the day and connect to myself. And it's become something now I really cherish. I hold very dear to my heart. Of course, it's easier now because we're empty nesters. But if I, for some reason, oversleep or something happens and I don't have that, I feel so different in terms of feeling like I have the capacity to be there for my clients or my children or my grandchildren or my husband. It's just completely different. So now it's like a non-negotiable boundary for me. It maybe back in the day used to be something like, really, but it hasn't been that for a long time. It's something I really, really look forward to.
Absolutely. And that's the secret.
Yes,
it really is, because I think the morning routine or the practice is really what gives us the strength and, the conviction of the self to go out and create a beautiful business. So we all know that it starts with ourselves and all the answers are within. But if we're not giving ourselves 5 minutes every day, every morning, we're at a loss, we're lacking, we're not doing justice to ourselves and hence not finding those answers. So I think,
absolutely.
Taking 5 minutes every day, first thing in the morning.
And really 5 minutes is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be that short.
Right.
But if it's a commitment every single day and it becomes non-negotiable for you, pretty soon it will be I'm going to make room for 10, and, you know.
Yeah,
15
absolutely. Yes, because if you say half an hour, no one's going to do it.
Right.
So start with 5 minutes,
Absolutely.
and you love it so much that you're going to add another 5, another 5.
I mean, Lavanya, let's just talk the gratitude walk.
Yes.
That's
That's
however
huge.
many steps you have.
Yeah.
To be able to
Yeah.
just give gratitude for your body and your ability to walk and your ability to do that on your own. Because I'm pretty sure almost everyone on this earth will someday not be able to do that on their own, you know, unless they were to die of a tragic accident really young or something. But, you know, after caregiving for both my mother-in-law and my mother, it's like I'm very committed to, like, that is something I'm just so grateful for as long as I can.
Yes.
Right.
Well, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
such a tender story. And I think gratitude is a great place to end our conversation. And it's just such a high vibration and can be the solution to so many of our problems. And I am so grateful for you, your influence in my life and your friendship and what you bring to this world. So thank you again. And until next time, see you and bye.
Thank you, Lavanya.
Yes.
I am honored.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for your inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wherever you go with all your heart.
Yes. Thank you.